Our next contestant, Paul Artale, Confessions of a Red Shirt Guy. Confessions of a Red Shirt Guy, Paul Artale. Lansing, Michigan, October 2010. I walked up to the stage, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see the buffet table with boxes of Little Caesars pizza fresh from the oven. As I got to center stage, I looked out at the well-lit auditorium, the dozens of strange faces I had never seen before, except for in the front row center, where my friend Gretchen Smith sat, and more importantly, to my left and 3 rows back, where my lovely wife Sherry was, supporting me, because she's the one that got me into this mess. 8 months before that contest, I was living in Leavenworth, Kansas. I was working at a small college where I was underpaid, overworked, and didn't like a single thing about my job. But the job did come with some perks. Among those perks, I got my own gym. Sure, other faculty and staff could use it, but nobody did. Which meant I had 24/7 access, and I exploited that. Except in January. We all know why. New Year's resolutions come about, and all of a sudden, my paradise, my sanctuary from this terrible job, was consumed by people who made New Year's resolutions that wouldn't last more than 3 weeks. Naturally, I went home and complained to my wife every single day. And after about a week of this, she turned to me and said, "You're just like those people in the gym." What? I'm in there 6 days a week. I'm getting jacked. Oh, you got the gym thing down. But you've been talking about being a public speaker for years. But you never do anything about it. You know, when someone calls you out, you can't claim ignorance anymore. You either have to admit that you're wrong and quit, or do something about it. I decided to do something about it. I picked up every resource I could on public speaking, becoming a speaker, and it was funny. In almost every resource at some point, they mentioned Toastmasters. A few months later, I moved to Michigan. And I joined a Toastmasters club. And a couple months into my Toastmasters journey, the president stood up in a meeting and said, "They're having a tall tales contest in a few weeks. We want to have a club contest, so if you're interested, compete." Honestly, I didn't think anything of it. I had joined Toastmasters to learn a few tricks about public speaking and work my material and work off the rust because I hadn't been in front of a crowd in about a year. I didn't know anything about these contests, especially a tall tales contest. What did that mean? A few days later, I got an email from some club members that said, "Hey, you've got a lot of energy. You should do this. You'll have a lot of fun with it." So I decided to enter. I didn't know it would be the beginning of a 4-year journey that would take me across the continent, that would make me a better speaker, help launch my professional speaking career, which is why I joined Toastmasters in the first place. And more importantly, became one of the most valuable tools I have ever had as a speaker. And today I'm going to share my 3 lessons that I can take, that you can take out of this, as to why a speech competition is something you should do, why you should compete, and if for some reason you can't compete, why you should be involved in the process. I want to take a little survey first, though. I want you to raise your hand if you've actually ever seen a Toastmasters speech competition. Okay, that's a valid question. Raise your hand if you've organized a Toastmasters speech competition. And raise your hand if you've actually been in a Toastmasters speech competition. Doesn't matter which kind. Great. Let's give everyone a round of applause. I do that because when you think about it, without those 3 elements, there is no speech competition. And something as trivial and goofy as attending one makes the difference. There is nothing worse as a competitor than going to a venue and there's maybe a dozen people sitting there and it's sparse and it's a competition. You got to have an audience. Lord knows we need people to organize these things. They're very intricate. And of course, as a competitor, well, you need something to watch, otherwise we'd just be staring at the walls. But the first benefit of speech competitions deals with that organizational piece. It's the leadership aspect. If speaking really isn't what you want to do, if you don't want to compete, or maybe you can't, consider being part of the organizational part of a speech competition. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I think number one is just from a pure selfish leadership development standpoint, if you chair a competition, even a club contest, and I've chaired club contests before, you have every single element of leadership and being an effective leader right in that experience. You got to know the rules and regulations. You got to recruit people. You got to deal with egos. You got to deal with problems as they come up, and something always comes up. There's a lot of different things that come up. So to develop yourself as a leader, it's a no-brainer in a lot of ways. It's a very intensive, can be a very, intensive is a good word. I'm going to stay with intensive, one word. It's an intensive experience, but it's worth it. And what you learn from that one experience will make you grow in ways you can't. If you're a club officer, and I'm assuming most of us in this room are club officers, I'm always disheartened when I find out that clubs elect not to have a speech contest. Sometimes it's because we don't have contestants. We'll talk about that in a little later. But some clubs, it's, hey, we're here about speaking, it's the business, we're not going to plug it because we have other priorities. And I can respect that, but I think from a leadership standpoint, from a club organizational standpoint, offering the speech contest gives a dynamic to your club that is unique and makes it memorable. We all have little checkpoints in our years, right? Open houses. We have maybe themed parties or themed meetings. We have maybe an awards meeting. But the speech contest is unlike any other type of meeting or experience you can offer in Toastmasters. It's what's unique about our organization. In a lot of ways, it's what people know about our organization. And it becomes a unique thing on the calendar. And when it becomes part of the culture, guess what? You get more competitors. When it becomes more part of the culture, guess what? You can invite other people in to come watch it. When it becomes part of the culture, you offer your membership a unique experience that will build them as speakers and leaders that they can't get in any other way. So that's the first point, leadership. The second point, it's the people you meet. I've been involved in contests at every form. I've organized them. I've been a test speaker for the evaluation contest. And clearly, I've competed in all 4 contests that we offer. So I've seen the wide range. But because of that competition, I have met people from all over the Toastmasters world. I can claim I know people internationally now because I was fortunate enough to go to Cincinnati. But even before that, I remember my first area contest, my Confessions of a Red Shirt guy. After I was done that speech, I had people I didn't know. Those strange faces didn't become so strange anymore because people patted me on the back. They shook my hand. They invited me to their clubs to speak and to practice. And when I went to those clubs, guess what? I met more people. And the faces became less strange. And all of a sudden, I began to realize that Toastmasters isn't just a club-focused thing. We are Toastmasters International, which means we are more than just 1 or 2 clubs wherever we pay our dues. We have friends, colleagues, people that can help us and make us better all over the area, the division, the district, the country. And that was a huge, huge benefit to me. So it's the leadership. It's the people we meet. Most importantly, I'm going to spend a lot of time on my third point, because we all hear, who wants to be a better speaker? Raise your hand. Yeah. This is the meat and potatoes. You want to be a better speaker, you have to compete. You are incomplete if you don't compete. It's true. I didn't think that coming in to this entire experience. But I want you to humor me a second as I prove my next point. I say the word hit. I want you to yell back the word hard. Simple instructions, right? Okay, let's try this. Hit. Hard. Hit. Hard. Just the guys, hit. Hard. Ladies, hit. Hard. District team, hit. Hard. Wow, my voice cracked. Well, we're both embarrassed. Spring 2011, I decided to compete in the international contest for the first time. By that point, someone had told me about the World Championship of Public Speaking. And I thought, sweet. I'll be the champ. I'll get the belt. I didn't know it was a lucite trophy. I did that speech because I thought this is a cool story for me to tell. More importantly, I thought, I want to play with this whole audience interaction part. I want to see if I can have people yell things at me and it be entertaining but get the point across. And the contest for me is anyone that wants to become a professional speaker or speak out at Toastmasters, the contest is the place to work that material and see what works. Because now Hit Hard, what was a 5 to 7 minute contest speech is now a 45 to 60 minute keynote. And people yell that slogan to me in supermarkets and airports. It's kind of freaky. And sometimes I don't actually realize they're doing. I have to clue in like, oh, you saw the speech somewhere. Okay, great. Glad you enjoyed it. Or you're harassing me. But there's some huge benefits to the competition. And the first, as a speaker, it forces you to be precise and concise. We all give 5 to 7 minute speeches in our clubs. It's pretty common, right? But there's something about when that clock is ticking and those lights are going on in a competition that makes you really have to hunker down and get at it. And more importantly, when you're putting that speech together, you have to really choose your words carefully, choose your moments, anticipate the laughs, anticipate the tears, whatever it is. You can do that in a club. But have you ever seen the red light come on in a club and say, I'm just going to finish my speech? All the time. And then you get your report, Paul, you went 8 minutes and 2 seconds. That was overtime. You can't do that necessarily in a contest. Or that's a choice you make in a contest. We'll get to why you make that choice in a few minutes. But you have to be precise. And there's a beauty to that. To be able to choose those words carefully, get that message across in the most efficient but powerful way. And what's awesome about that is at the end of the day, if you do it right, doesn't matter where you go in the competition, what you get out of it is a 5 to 7 minute, well-polished, well-rehearsed story that you can plug into several presentations in your life. Another benefit of the speech competition, one of the greatest, the second greatest benefit to me, it's the process. The higher you go, the more you see of this. But really, even if you're training for the club, you could incorporate this process today. And here's the process. You give a speech. You get your feedback. You make the changes. You give a speech. You get your feedback. You get your changes. You do it over and over and over again. Competing at the World Championships, my speech was called The Treasure. I said that speech more, I can't even count how many times I gave it. To other clubs, to my friends, to my coworkers, to my cat, to my backyard. The cat wasn't so great with the feedback. But it's that process that we don't get to do. Most of us do a manual speech, we get our feedback, we get our credit, we put it away, we might recycle a couple minutes from it somewhere at some point, but we don't get to do the same speech over and over again. And there is something in that process that I can't fully describe, but is so valuable. Because it forces you to make choices. When you have hundreds, and I'll say in the hundreds, but maybe thousands of people giving you feedback on your speech over the course of months, you got to make choices. Not all feedback is equal. And I mean that with sincerity. That's not saying there is bad feedback, but there could be great feedback, but you got to make the choice. Am I going to incorporate that into my speech? Is it worth incorporating that into my speech? Do I have the time to incorporate that into my speech? One of the key moments in my semifinal speech was a point where my father gets into a car accident. It's sad and it can be powerful if I do it right. And some of the feedback I got, I remember getting an email in July saying, I don't like that part. You should get rid of it. And I thought, I take all feedback seriously. So I actually consider, okay, if I got rid of this, could I do it? Well, the answer was, I don't have the time. I would have to, for me, it would actually be an entirely different speech, if you've heard the speech. But I had to make that choice, and I had to think. And that's just something you don't get by doing 1 or 2 club speeches. It's that process. And that's the process. If you ever want to polish yourself as a speaker, or if you work, even if you're a trainer, and you have to do the same speech over and over again, or the same modules over and over again, it's the same process. Just the speech contest makes it more intense. And because of the nature of the beast, you get to do it in a very short amount of time. So the learning acceleration is huge. And when you have the ability to filter through feedback and make changes and get to your core message, that's just a beautiful thing. That's a skill that'll take you anywhere in life. The next point in the competition, and probably this is the most important point, is that the competition gives you a platform to unleash your message. I joked about the belt. Competition is not about a belt. Sometimes I hear people say, oh, I don't want to compete because I'm not that good. I'm going to lose anyway. Who cares? It's not about being good or bad, about coming in first, second, third. It's about having 5 to 7 minutes, 7 minutes and 30 seconds actually, to say what you want to say. If you could say one thing to people out there, what would it be? Because see, if you keep that message inside, if you don't unleash it to your audience, you're being selfish. Everybody in this room has a life story and life lessons that we can impart on people, that we can help people with. So get up there and get it out. It's more important than the contest. It's more important than anything else you can do. I talked about being precise and being concise and the lights and all that stuff. During my competition, after the competition actually, I met a young man by the name of Takashi. Takashi from Japan was a semifinalist in another heat. And at 7 minutes, he saw the red light come on. And he knew he had another minute and change of his speech. Takashi had a choice. He could cut his speech short, get to his conclusion, and it would be okay. Or he could go the extra minute, finish it the way he wanted to, and get his message across. He chose to take the disqualification. His message, when I talked to him, my message was so important to me that I didn't care about winning or losing. It was about my point. And from people that were in that semifinals, like, he had a shot. That's what I was told. But it's getting that message out there. Each of us has a message in this room, and I want us to reflect for about 20 seconds. What's the message you want to share with the world? Take 20 seconds, reflect. To share their message right now. Not a 5-minute speech, you got like 10 seconds tops. Yes, ma'am.
My message, and this was actually, my message, this was actually my 10th speech, is there is a great speaker in you. And the reason why I think that is such an important message is because it embodies everything that we do in Toastmasters. Everyone, like you said, has a story to tell. Everyone has something to share. Everyone has something that is going to move people. And becoming a Toastmaster allows you to share that message, give that person who needs to hear what you have to say a chance to grow and change and become a better person. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have a message to share? Yes, sir.
Don't drift, live an examined life.
Live and examine life. I like that.
I don't know how to make it into 5 minutes, but
Let's go with one more. Yep.
Don't let fear hold you back.
Don't let fear hold you back. Great. All right. So we got 3. So I expect 3 competitors out of those who spoke. And if you're not eligible this year because you don't have enough speeches or maybe you're in a district position, that means you just have more time to prepare the speech. That's all it means. Okay? I heard the comment from you, sir, I just need to know how to make it, a 5-minute speech. I like the message. Well, great. 3 ways I can help you do that. I am not competing this year. Definitely not in the international contest. I am more focused on finishing my PhD, becoming Dr. Artale, because that same wife will kill me if I don't very soon. But if you have a speech draft, an idea, a video, you want me to review it, you want me to take a look at it, I'll do it. Just come up to me. I had a lot of people help me along the way. This is my way of giving back. Number 2, and this is a shameless self-promotion, so be known. I produce a weekly public speaking newsletter. Okay, every week you get from me an audio lesson with text. I answer a question on video for the audience. People email me stuff. And then I always share a public speaking resource like a book or a cool website or something to help you on your speaking journey. If you're interested, I'm going to pass out the sheets. It's fine, completely optional. I won't be offended if you don't. Well, I know some of you, so if you don't, just saying. And the third way is if you want me to come to your club and give a presentation, talk to your club, shoot a video. If you know me, I'm not afraid to shoot web videos anymore. So I'll help you promote it. Because we've heard the expression, iron sharpens iron, right? Okay? There's nothing better, or there's nothing better than having an arena full of contestants. The more contestants you have in contest at any level means that if you're competing, you are going to work that much harder to win it. It's just the way it is. Think of any competitive action. All right? The less competitions, the less teams, the less people you have to go against, you're just not going to be as sharp. You up the bar by having more people in. You see cool new techniques. You see cool new stories. You meet people, and you get to conference about your speeches, and you get better that way. So I'm happy to promote it, motivate people, or whatever. Our next contestant, Paul Artale, the treasure. The treasure, Paul Artale. Cincinnati, 2013. I walked up to the stage, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see a fresh coffee stain I had put on my jacket just minutes before in the green room. But as I walked to center stage, I looked out at the very darkly lit venue and looked at hundreds of faces that I didn't know, except for front row center, where former public speaking world champion Mark Brown sat, beaming his big smile at me. And more importantly, to my left and 3 rows up, where my lovely wife Sherry was there to support me. And I still blame her for getting me into this mess. I was nervous, but I took a deep breath. I launched into my first few words. And by the time I got my first laugh, I had settled down. And over the course of that 5 to 7 minutes, I delivered the best performance of that speech I have ever done. I was comfortable up on that stage to the point where actual 45 seconds of that speech were improv on the moment on that stage. Because I felt I need that little extra to get me to the top. It wasn't enough. But again, it's not about winning trophies, right? What I learned from that was invaluable. I remember sitting down afterwards and my friend patted me on the back and he said, "How do you think you did?" I said, "Oh, it's up to the judges now." He said, "But you got your message out there. And hundreds and thousands of people will see this live and over the internet. And you have that ability to touch lives." A few days later, I went to the World Champion Summit, where 5 world champions of public speaking get in a room and basically improv sessions and speak to you. And if you've ever seen a world champion public speaking seminar, there's always a point where they have people come up and practice speeches, and they usually cut them off within 20 seconds. I had the courage finally to put my hand up. and go up there, and I delivered what would have been my final speech. I went 5 minutes before they told me to stop because they were just running out of time. And after that, world champion Ed Tate showed me the pad for comments, and he said, I ain't got none, and he flipped it around, and it was blank. And Darren LaCroix, someone who I've idolized and studied a lot, at the end said, you're a great storyteller and speechwriter. Now, this isn't about the self-validation I got, because it was nice, because I was still licking my wounds from the contest. But reflecting on that, it was the contest experience that allowed me to get to that point. It was the contest experience that gave me the courage to put up my hand, because 2 years earlier, when Darren LaCroix was in town in Detroit, I had the chance to go up and practice a speech in front of him, and I didn't even consider putting that hand up. It's that contest that's led me to meet great people, to become a speaker that I like to be. Each of you in this room has a chance to participate in the contest in some way. Because if someone in my club hadn't put the contest together, I may have never competed and had this journey. You have the opportunity to give that journey to someone. You have the opportunity to experience that journey yourself, to develop in ways that you'll never imagine. You're incomplete if you don't what? Complete. What? Complete. I am the speaker I am because of Toastmasters, because of the International Speech Contest, because of all of you. Give that experience to someone else. Experience it yourself. Enjoy the rest of TLI.